Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's public information meeting on wildfires in the TNRD. My name is Andrew Robelin, and I am the Information Officer with the Thompson-Nicola Regional District's Emergency Operations Center in Kamloops. Before we get started, I would like to take a moment and acknowledge that we connect with many First Nation communities across our vast regional district, and today are located on the Kamloops Secwepemc territory, situated within the unceded ancestral lands of the Secwepemc Nation. The TNRD appreciates the partnership that we have and respect the territory and land on which we are meeting from today. A recorded version of this meeting will be available to stream on demand on our website, tnrd.ca, and on our YouTube channel. All attendees joining us today will be muted to allow for our presenters to speak on the current wildfire situation in the region. There will be no live question and answer period at today's meeting, but attendees are always welcome to submit questions in advance, and we will address those questions that we received today. To start, we'll be getting an update from BC Wildfire Service on the White Rock Lake wildfire, and I believe we've got Shannon on the line.
Hi, thanks for having me here. I'm just going to pull up my screen here to show a map. So first thing for the White Rock Lake wildfire, today is our turnover day with the incoming incident management team. So we're transitioning sometime this afternoon. The official turnover will be happening, and Forrest Tower is the incoming information officer. So any of these updates in the next 14 days will be done by him. So for the fire itself, currently we are sitting at 81,362 hectares. It's a slight decrease than what we were reporting 2 days ago, and that's due to more accurate mapping that we've got. So some good news, crews are making some really positive progress on all flanks of the fire. We did receive a little bit of precipitation yesterday in a couple of the areas, but not the whole fire. But that has dampened a little bit of the fire behavior that we've been seeing. So I'll focus mainly on the part of the fire that's in the TNRD. So up in the Div Y here in the Monty Lake area, we are in sort of patrol and mop up phases right now. Mainly crews are working north of Highway 97 in this part. And we're going to be working patrol and mop up basically the whole north and west flanks of the fire for probably the next 7 to 10 days. As we're able to get infrared scans done, crews are able to go in and identify those specific hotspots and work on those. We also have 60 Canadian Armed Forces members arriving today into the Vernon area, and another 60 are arriving tomorrow. And they're going to be here to support the patrol and mop-up efforts along the west and the north flanks there. So that's going to bolster our personnel that we have available for that kind of work. On the southeast flank, I know this isn't in TNRD, but just a heads up for everybody. On the southeast flank, we did complete a successful ignition operation down here near West Side Road on August 25th. And so that was, it went exactly as planned. It was a successful operation, and it really did give us the opportunity to work on the containment in this area. We are still preparing for a larger scale ignition to occur up here on the northeast flank. And we're anticipating it will be approximately 3,000 hectares, so quite a large planned ignition operation. It's outside of the TNRD boundary, but you likely will be seeing smoke from a lot of nearby communities. We will be sharing more information prior to that ignition actually starting. We just have to wait for the right conditions to occur on site. Mainly it's the winds that are driving those conditions right now. And then I'll just finish off with a quick overview of our resources today on the fire. We have 281 firefighters, 92 structure protection personnel, 14 helicopters, and 40 pieces of heavy equipment. So thank you for having me today.
Thanks, Shannon. Next up, if we can hear from the Lytton Complex Information Officer.
I'll unmute myself. My name is Casa Thomas, and I'm the incoming Fire Information Officer for the Lytton Complex. And just want to note that I'm incoming today, so just still getting my bearings here. So the Lytton Complex does include the Lytton Creek, McKay Creek, George Road, and Mohawcum wildfires. And over the last week, there's been no significant growth on any of the wildfires within the complex. And today I'll be speaking to the Lytton Creek and the George Road wildfires. Today here it's sunny, it's mid to high 20s, and we have been experiencing relatively light winds and good overnight recoveries. So basically cool temperatures and higher humidities overnight, and that's really helping to keep the fire activity low. So I'm gonna share my screen here, I hope. Hey, can you see that?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Perfect. Just give me 1 sec. I can't see it. All right, so we'll start with the George Road wildfire, and that's down here, K70804. And there's been very little fire activity observed on this fire. The current size estimate is 5,017 hectares. And although that is larger than the last update, it's not a result of fire growth, but rather of more accurate mapping. The fire had not been mapped since the wind event a couple weeks ago. On August 26th, a drone crew did conduct infrared scanning on the west side here by Highway 1. And this was done to identify any hotspots that may not otherwise be visible. And it's done overnight for two reasons. One, so that it doesn't interfere with helicopter operations, and the other, so that the cooler temperatures at night help with the readings. And the scan did not pick up any hotspots in the area, which is positive and suggests that the fire suppression efforts have been successful. So overall, for this fire, very little fire activity observed, and it continues to be closely monitored. Moving on to the Lytton Creek wildfire, we've also seen very little fire activity and no significant growth. The current size on that is 83,740 hectares, and this was mapped just yesterday. Today, there are 109 firefighters and 18 pieces of heavy equipment working on the fire. And across the complex, there's 5 helicopters that are assigned, which are used on the priority areas within the complex. So the priorities for this fire include the southern, kind of like the southeastern area here. This is where the growth occurred during the wind event a couple weeks ago. So crews and heavy equipment and aerial resources do continue to work in that area of the fire, and the guard construction around the perimeter of that area east of Highway 8 there is nearly complete, and the crews and helicopters continue to focus on hotspots in that area. The drone crew did also do the infrared scanning on that part of the fire, and there were some hotspots identified, and these are being prioritized for suppression efforts. We also continue to have danger tree assessors and fallers working ahead of the fire crews in those areas, and that's a very important step in order to keep our crews safe. Yesterday in this area, we did implement an area restriction order, and so access to that area is now limited to those conducting the fire operations, and as well as those who are traveling to and from their principal residence. And so there are crews working in this area, as well as heavy machinery and helicopters, and the purpose of this area restriction is really for the safety of the crews and of the public. It is an active work site, and there's ongoing fire activity and active firefighting in that area. Another priority area is this northwest area up here. And crews are continuing to work in this area, and where necessary, they are receiving support from helicopter bucketing. So, overall, as more provincial resources are becoming available, we are shifting our focus towards having additional type 1 fire crews. And what those are is these are our highly skilled and experienced firefighters who are trained to work in areas of high fire activity. As you would know, some of the evacuation orders have been downgraded, so structure protection crews are removing structure protection equipment. And yeah, I think just to wrap up, just important to let people know that over the next while, there will be smoke visible as we continue to work on these fires, and we'll be continuing to seek out and extinguish those hotspots and monitoring very closely. Thanks.
Thank you, Casta. That was very, very informative. Next, we will hear about the Cascades complex. So this is the July Mountain and Brook Creek fires.
Hi there, this is Carly. I'm the information officer for the Cascades complex, which includes the July Mountain Fire and then the Garrison Lake Fire. So I'll be kind of touching mostly on the July Mountain Fire today, and I will share my screen as well. Sorry, just give me one moment. All right, there we are. So the July Mountain Fire, there's been no significant growth and fire activity remains relatively low, especially with the weather that we've seen here in the past week or so. No growth in roughly 11 days. Cooler temperatures up until today have really kind of mitigated fire behavior and allowed crews to initiate some direct attack in priority areas and continue to establish containment lines. Especially kind of here on the eastern side of the Coquihalla, which runs right through the middle here. Crews are focused in this area right here in the Brookmere area, and then north up here in the Cane Valley area, with this section right here a priority today. Additionally, so crews are kind of shifting more to mop up and securing and establishing containment lines. We have heavy equipment working. A guard has been completed on the western side of the Coquihalla over here, and heavy equipment continues to work northwards, establishing containment lines. And then crews are just working as well to kind of address any hot spots that are scattered throughout the fire perimeter. We are expecting that weather is going to see a bit of a downturn again, so cooler temperatures after today. Today is expected to be the warmest day with the lowest RH this afternoon, and then from here into the next couple of days, although there's no rain in the forecast, we are expecting that temperatures are expected to cool, and then RHs are expected to increase a bit, so that also kind of give crews the upper hand. The fire is currently 19,080 hectares, and we have 112 firefighters, 22 pieces of heavy equipment, 17 endangered tree assessors and fallers. That is also a priority right now. And then we have a total of 312 personnel assigned to the Cascade complex, along with 14 helicopters. So as resources, as Casta kind of touched on, resources are becoming more available, and crews are arriving here as well to support. So overall, things are looking good here on the July Mountain Fire.
Thank you for that update, Carly. The last area we want to hear from is the Sparks Lake complex, and I believe we have Greg on the line.
Yes, hi, this is Greg Jonick speaking for the Sparks Lake complex, and this consists of Sparks Lake and the Tremont fire. And I will, of course, share my screen if you just give me one moment. Oh, doesn't look like I can, so I'm just going to go commando then. Oh, something happened there. Now we can do it. Yep, now I'm able to. There we go. Okay, so this should be the Sparks Lake fire here. See if I can rotate her down. And that'll have to do. Most of the activity on this particular fire, first of all, the Sparks Lake fire, we're sitting at just under 90,000 hectares with 55 firefighters and 8 pieces of heavy equipment. And ground crews have made some excellent progress, so they're shifting as a result of that progress from what we've been calling Division C in the southwest corner over to the northeast flanks in this, what some people have been calling the Lakes country. That's the excursion that happened a little over a week ago, and it does continue to be active in that area, and therefore crews are working on structure containment near cabins in these areas amongst the lakes, specifically between Heller Lake and Elbow Lake, for example. And crews are also methodically working the northeast tip, and they'll be in that area consolidating fire edges. Structural protection on all of the structures in the area. I believe there's a little bit left in Elbow Lake today that will be removed. And after that, there will be no more structural protection. So that's a good measure of the risk that we're seeing at the moment. I'll move over to the Tremont Creek fire. There we go. This fire is just over 60,000 hectares, 62523 to be precise, and we have 174 firefighters on that, 24 pieces of heavy equipment, and also we have 3 assigned helicopters. We're using mostly direct attack, like the other folks from the other fires in these cooler temperatures. And most of this is applied again on the eastern side of the fire. Forge Creek area, south of Tunqua Lake is one area, and between the Duffy Dairy areas, this peninsula here, and also the Chartrand Creek area. This is where most of the activity is taking place. And there also is an area in here where crews are focusing on. There is a network of guards, relatively newly established guards and roads, and they are trying to plumb that with hoses to enable firefighters to directly attack that area. Also, the Jimmy's Creek area in the north side, there's some activity as well, but most of this side is doing quite well. Glossy Mountain has some activity, and Cherry Creek was the last area of structural protection left on that fire, and it was removed yesterday. One other thing to pay attention to is we did issue a new area restriction on this fire, as all of the regional district orders were changed to alerts, and that'll mean that folks can go into the area, and the area restriction is meant to reduce the amount of recreational traffic in the area. So it's important for people that are recreating to be aware of the measures involved with the area restriction, and I believe it comes with the $1,150 fine for folks violating the area restriction. And that is my report from the Sparks Lake Complex.
Thank you for that, Greg. Greg, I don't know if you can speak to it or if there's another individual from BC Wildfire Service, but as we're seeing so many downgrades happening, what really is the trigger for seeing a downgrade from an alert to an all clear? Because I know a lot of folks are anxious because they're still sitting on alert and have been for quite some time.
Yeah, I can't speak specifically, but I know that our operational staff in combination with the IC do establish trigger conditions. And once those conditions are met, that's when they make recommendations to the regional district for the various removal of both the orders and the alert. So it's based on geographic situations where the conditions are, but also other things. Structural protection, for example, is one measure that once structural protection is removed, generally that will trigger a recommendation. So there's different factors at play, and again, it's based on pre-assigned trigger measures.
Thank you for that. I think I'll move on then, and we can look at some of the changes in orders and alerts over the last All right, so here we have our evacuation dashboard, which is readily available to the public. We have seen a number of all clears come through in the last few days. Oh, bit of a lag here, but. So over in the Tremont Creek fire area surrounding Tunqua there, we were able to bring that border in. So all clears around the outer edge. And then the Tunqua Lake area still remains on alert. As Greg mentioned, just waiting for some of those trigger point some of those conditions to be met before all clears can be issued any further. And moving up, we've also been able to issue some more all clears through the Sparks Lake area. Again, in that the areas where firefighting activity is still quite active, they do remain on alert. Most recently, let's just scroll down. So we have the Lytton Creek fire. We have been able to downgrade the evacuation orders along Highway 8 to evacuation alerts. This now has opened up Highway 8. We are encouraging local traffic only, as there is still firefighting activity in the area, but residents of the area can go back to their properties at this time. We still have orders in place for the July Mountain area, as well as a small portion of the White Rock Lake fire that's in the TNRD. There still remains an order outside of the TNRD, but within the TNRD, just a small portion still remains on order. We expect over the next few days to see more downgrades. So orders going to alert and alerts going to all clear. It will depend on weather conditions and the progress that BC Wildfire Service can make on many of those guards and some of the conditions that they're looking to be met around structures and ensuring the safety of their crews as well as residents returning. I do want to remind folks that the Resiliency Center is available for anybody affected by these wildfires. On that note, we have had a number of inquiries regarding structure losses. At this point in time, we know of 10 primary dwellings that were lost due to the Lytton Creek wildfire. Now that is only TNRD structures. This would not include anything within the municipality, such as the village of Lytton. And there was 1 seasonal dwelling and 5 commercial structures that were also destroyed in the Lytton Creek wildfire. The Sparks Lake wildfire, we know of 11 primary dwellings that were destroyed, 24 seasonal dwellings also were lost in that fire. So just a reminder, Sparks Lake, that includes Chris Creek and Deadman Vedette areas that saw the brunt of the fire activity. We have no primary or seasonal dwellings lost due to the Tremont Creek fire. The White Rock Lake fire, we continue to get reports in as residents get into their area about further losses. So we now are seeing 32 primary dwellings that were destroyed, and 2 seasonal dwellings and 2 commercial structures. So on that note, I just want to kind of provide a bit of guidance towards folks that have had structure loss, and particularly those who have lost primary dwellings. Your first step is you really want to get in touch with our Resiliency Center. And there you want to make sure you fill out a needs assessment. This can be done through email or in person. So if you're going in person, they're set up at the North Hills Mall in Kamloops. Otherwise, you can call them at 250-312-5667 or email them at tnrdrecovery@tnrd.ca. All this information will be provided when the video is posted. After that needs assessment is filled out, the next step towards recovery, because really that's where we're at now. As we're seeing downgrades, we're still very much in active fire season, but we know people are already looking ahead, and for many, these fires have already gone and passed, so we know they're looking ahead as well. So the next step we're looking at is that debris management, so the actual cleanup. And we have an ask out to the province that we will coordinate so that the efforts can be more efficient and we can ensure the safety of the cleanup crews as well as those at the landfill. So we need to make sure that materials are handled properly. Several of the structures lost are older structures, so certain risks such as asbestos come with that, and other chemicals that we want to be aware of as we're cleaning up. So we will continue to work with the province and insurance companies on that. We are engaging with NGOs, so non-government organizations, and again, this is through the Resiliency Center in terms of sifting, so helping folks go through their property and salvage anything worth salvaging. There are also groups to assist farmers and with different reliefs that they may need. But again, contacting that Resiliency Center for that needs assessment is really going to be the step, so we know which NGOs to get you in touch with. We are also doing danger tree assessments around properties. So we have individuals that can come out and do that assessment if you've got any concerns about trees around your property. And then moving past that, now we don't have timelines for this, but moving past that, it'll be a case-by-case basis as people look to rebuild or whatever their options they choose. We do have reduced fees for some of the permitting processes that will be involved in rebuilding. And just really, we want to work with our building departments to kind of streamline that process so that that's not really holding up the rebuilding process. Those without insurance that are looking for their options, that's currently with the province and MLA Stone at this time. So continue to look for updates through them. We're hoping to hear more from the province this coming week in regards to that cleanup portion. So continue to stay tuned through these meetings, as well as our social media channels and various press agencies that we work with as well. So our EOC is kind of downgrading in terms of their operating hours. We are still in during the week, Monday through Friday. Weekends, we're here as needed. So we are available, and if situations do change, we will be fully staffed and full hours again. But at this time, we are starting to scale back. So if you don't get anybody at our 377-7188 number, just leave a message and we'll get back to you as soon as we are back in the office. I want to again thank all residents who have signed up for our alerting system, that Voyant alert system. Although it may have had a few hiccups, it's been a great learning experience for the Voyant team. And Voyant has continued to keep this service up and running, and it's been invaluable for such a very busy fire season. So if you haven't, please connect with that Voyant alert system. And you can always follow us on Facebook and keep an eye on our website for any updates. We do intend to continue to hold these public information meetings. We will likely scale back on how frequently they are. And we will not always hear from some of the wildfire information officers. I'm particularly thinking we won't be hearing from the Sparks Lake complex as those fires are classed as under control at this point. So in the interest of their time, I don't think we will be hearing from Sparks as often. But any of the fires that are still seeing active orders, we will definitely be keeping up to date. Please continue to use that question form on our website for any questions that you may have, and we can address those at our next public information meeting. Do check out our interactive map that gets updated every time an order or alert is changed or issued. For road closures, check Drive BC. And further information can be found through the TNRD website, our social media, radio and news outlets, as well as our Voyant alerting system. So thank you all for attending today, and we will see you in a few days.